Okay, so I want to make a video talking about the narrative that ADOS don't know where they are from. I kind of talked about this in a prior video when talking about the narrative that ADOS lack culture or have no culture, even though we developed into a new ethnic group with a deep cultural heritage. This narrative is like a more extreme version of that, basically implying that we have no people or history or homeland or roots when that isn't the case. I do know where I am from. I am from North America because I was born here, my parents were born here, my great grandparents were born here, going back 400 years. So I don't really understand why the logic changes when it's applied to ADOS and African diaspora, because people can understand that for other populations. You wouldn't ask a South African Afrikaner where they're from. They're from South Africa. Going back, their ancestry does go back to Europe and the Netherlands, but their roots are in South Africa. It's the same thing. My ancestors traveled from Africa, but our roots and lineages are in North America, so that's where I'm from. There's also this narrative that ADOS don't know where we come from in Africa, which is not true. When we start getting to my 6th and 7th great grandparents, that's when my roots start going back to Africa, and there was documentation of what tribes were taken from Africa. There are slave ship records, there are slave port records, so we know where they originated from, and then there's DNA technology. We originate from over 40 different tribes from West and Central Africa. But what do people expect us to do with this information? Um, People expect us to reconnect with these African tribes, basically erasing 400 years of heritage and roots, when it doesn't even make sense. So I'm supposed to reconnect with these tribes as my identity. So do I pick like one or two tribes? If I do that, I'm leaving out dozens of tribes. Or on the flip side, I have to connect with over 40 different tribes from distinct tribes and different language groups. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I am never going to be able to reconnect with my African ancestry on that level. Okay, it's just, I basically have this distant appreciation for um, the African ancestry, and it's with more of a general African culture, and that's what it's going to be. And people will say, well, because of enslavement, we were disconnected from our culture. Yeah, that's part of the reason, but if you travel to a different place, it's just natural to develop into a new population and to form new connections. Look at North Americans of European origin. When they start talking about I'm English, Irish, German, people shut them down, people give them the side eye, because They do not consider them Irish, German, or French or Italian. They didn't go through chattel enslavement, yet they still disconnected from their ancestral cultures and homelands and developed new cultures and connections. So that's not even a legitimate reason. And there's no need for me to do that. Um, no one does this with other populations. Scandinavians and Irish people settled Iceland about 800 years ago, but no one pressures Icelanders to be Scandinavian and Irish because they developed into a new culture and their culture and roots are Icelandic. So why do people pressure ADOS and other African diaspora to be these African tribal cultures? There's no difference. I'm North American. Okay. Um, so I know where I'm from. I'm from North America. I have roots. I have a heritage. I have a homeland. North America is my homeland. Um, and that's that.